everybody. You're about to go into the second video from the team at Wyoming Child and Family Development. And you're going to hear from more members of the team really getting into this big question of what is it like in the real world with real Head Start staff to really change the data culture at a program and how that works in practice and some of the difficulties and challenges of making people who are used to things being done differently comfortable as you make changes. I think that this is one of the good parts about looking and hearing from real programs about just what this looks like on the ground, because your organization is going to face many of these same challenges as you go through this transition and change in a culture of data use in Head Start.
My input is being here. I was one of those that was totally the paper person, the files, how we had notebooks and binders when we would do our file reviews. It was tedious. We would have a whole long table full of different files and pulling from. And then we went to doing partial, trial plus, and part still paper. That was a nightmare. That was very, very difficult to do. My family advocate, she's my sidekick, and we've done this together for 19 years. And so I've been very lucky that we've worked together on Child Plus and doing that part. So we push buttons. We like to mess and figure out things. But we've also, my biggest for this is of data, using it as a teaching tool. As I feel very, very strongly that everybody needs to know why we're doing it. And so if I'm able to show and tell them it's the full story from starting at our application, our enrollment, all till, we transition them to kindergarten, how huge that is, and how then we can look at that data and see how well we did with that child and family.
I'm Gina Olson. I'm the Family Services Coordinator. I probably fall in the category of not especially confident in this area or feeling like I just have it all figured out, but I am so grateful for having the support, obviously, of everyone, but Marion and Jess and the work that they do to kind of help me sort through. I think when we started this with staff, I think this shift for people from that compliance to the impact was big. And I remember starting the conversation with family outcomes, and here's how we're going to look at what we're doing for families and trying to help staff make that transition into wanting to just check the box if we completed, because we know how quickly program years move and staff really feel like they're getting things done as they are checking off those completed things, but helping them to look a little deeper at how do you know what you're doing is making any difference at all for the families that you're working with, and how that matters so much to their progress and what progress can look like, and how it's okay if it's not progress, and what are the things that contribute to challenges or hurdles. How do you address those kinds of things? I know Mary's area of Arcia and looking at attendance, that's just one example of how all those pieces fit together. And when you have that data available in Child Plus, how you can look a little closer at some of those factors. I think the part of this that speaks the loudest to me is the ability to really look at how we're individualizing for families. And when you do family outcomes, how you're really looking at what does this specific family need? Not necessarily a resource or handout that you would provide program-wide or to every classroom, every parent, but what can you do for them that's really individualized to what they're working on? What are their challenges or goals, and how can you support them that way? I think helping staff make that transition from globally doing things, we're going to offer this to everybody, we're going to make sure we have this task completed, to really looking at more of individually, how are you supporting families specific to what their goals and needs are, and helping them take step forwards and to address obstacles and that kind of thing. I think that's been the big change.
Just looking at, for example, homeless families. How many homeless families do we have? Is that number, does it seem to be higher in one community? And that, do we really need to be looking at how are we making sure that we're finding those families, and our recruitment efforts then are more targeted? So we really are able to really focus our practices on what we're seeing and making sure that we're finding those families most in need of support.